one of the reasons we wanted you on, and I told the group chat, is that I think it would be an interesting perspective to have from someone who was never really that high on Kendrick, as you just admitted yourself.
Yes.
His 2024, I think it's an all-time great year for a rapper.
Maybe the greatest ever.
Yeah. And I feel like it was so important for him to drop GNX in that context, because a lot of the naysayers will be like, how can you say that's an all-time great year when we never got an album? Well, you can't say that anymore. We got GNX, right? And so I'm just curious, like, has the year that he had, for someone who admitted he was lukewarm on him, has he like risen in your rankings and in your, how you view him?
All right. So first thing, I want to touch on, like, I wasn't lukewarm on him. I looked at my stack of records. I got like 3 or 4 Kendrick records, like physical
vinyl.
Oh, yes. Wow. So I'm a little more into him, apparently, than I had even given him. I got the Untitled Unmastered on vinyl, right? So maybe I was a little more into him. Yeah. Like maybe I was a little more into him than I had given myself credit for on it. But you made an interesting point in people saying, well, it can't be his year because he didn't have an album. And I am beginning my own campaign to get us to stop looking at things generally, but music specifically, with this kind of checklist sort of outlook. Because what happens is, I've been reading these books about this stuff, so forgive me getting a little nerdy in my Neil Postman space. But once we were able to quantify things, we then got to a place where instead of using the quantification as a tool, the quantifying became a requirement. So then it becomes, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then you can't do it, which basically robs us of our independence as thinkers and evaluators and forces us to just become box checkers, right? We're just like checking the cars as they go past. We don't need him to put out an album for this to have been his year, right? We don't need him to say that. You can't tell me anybody has had an impact on both rap and the world this year like Kendrick Lamar, period. You can't do it. Let's say the only things he had put out, and it was no GNX. Let's say the only things that he put out were that verse on Like That, 616 in LA, Euphoria, Meet the Grams, and Not Like Us.
Yeah. All-time great year already. Like I said, I was
all-time great year. Yeah. Right. If I told
you
I put out an album,
we going off the vibes. We see how it's affecting things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we ain't got to check.
If somebody put out an album with those 5 songs and people farting for the rest of them, we still saying that this is like an all-time impactful sort of. It's like that Houdini album that had 5 minutes of funk and friends and all that. Like 4 major smash impactful sorts of hits. Yes, this is his year. I don't know who you pulling out at number 2. My old ass, you're probably pulling out somebody I've only heard of, right?
But I'm going Glorilla, dog. I think
Glorilla had a hell of a year, bro.
And her record was good. Like I was surprised.
She went up the charts as far as like one of the coldest, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real.
But what it is about her,
she up there with Lotto with me right now, bro. She up there with Lotto with me.
But what it is with me about her is, why I dig it is just, how's that shit make you feel? Like deep down, all this stuff comes back to like, how did all of this make you feel, or whatever it is? And with Kendrick, even if you hated what he did to Drake, you got to acknowledge nothing Drake did this year other than be a sucker affected people on the other side. What Kendrick did, standing tall, affected people over there, right? Now, for me with the rankings, I was thinking about this and like what it is that makes somebody like a GOAT MC or something like that for me. And it also, again, falls in line with my desire. And I've made these mistakes in the past. I've just changed my outlook about this stuff, about using metrics, and there's this thing or whatever that goes on. Like, you boys be riding hard for LeBron James padding the stats on the back end. And I'm like, cool, but it ain't never felt like it felt in 92. Like, there are things that happen and you're not going to make a case. And I made a point. I did South by Southwest last year, and I was talking about the LeBron Jordan thing. And I was like, look, you could present this case all you want, but the reality is I was there for the other stuff. And your case is not overriding the fact that I was there. To a degree for Kendrick, as good as he is and technically how good he is. And I can point to all the things he does well, and has this whole range of skills, and he does great storytelling. And, I ain't really into this Ouija board rap, right? These motherfuckers with these Dakota rings trying to figure this shit out. Like this making all these videos. I ain't trying to work that fucking hard. I got a job, right? Like that's not me. I appreciate the straightforward nature of this album, for example, but that's just not me. But in the end, Ice Cube from 1988 to 1992. You go back and listen to Straight Outta Compton, and at least for me, there's nothing Kendrick Lamar has done that feels like Cube made me feel listening to Straight Outta Compton. That's not if the worst thing I ever say about Kendrick Lamar is he's not Ice Cube, I'm not saying a terrible thing for him, right? But where I would say that this, in my world, would elevate him on a list if I was doing it, is what he's doing is so moral, right? Like, this is what I believe. This is what I think rap should be. And at this point in my life, standing on a belief is more important than anything else. I don't believe that this dude belongs here. I don't believe that the way he and other people in this industry are comporting themselves works. I'm going to change that all by myself. And not only am I going to do that, I'm going to put out work that does that, that makes the point and hits like a hammer without being unnecessarily preachy. That's hard
Saying
to do.
Fuck everybody that's on my body is not preaching, nigga. That's standing on something. You know what I'm saying?
Standing on
that's
it.
Standing on something. You know what I mean?
And that to me is as unforgettable in this. And as I look around, and in a time where people have the hardest time finding something to believe in and everything gets more and more flimsy, one man stood on his own square and said, nah, this shit does matter. It's supposed to matter. And if nobody else want to act like it matters, I'ma act like it matters.
Drake,
and that is the core of my soul.
And he did that against the biggest rapper in the world.
For sure. And also whooped him at his own game as well. Like, I'm gonna play a away game with this Bob shit and cook your ass by 40, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah,
I'm gonna make it impossible to stand next to you. Period. I'm gonna make it such that anybody that rides with you at this point looks like a sucker. There is no neutral. There is no middle. That's what the point you make with DeRozan, where I'm saying you ain't have to go to the video, and Kendrick's like, no, there ain't no middle, dog.
Period. Either you with me or you not. Anybody that sympathizes, he called Snoop out. And Snoop said, yeah, it was edibles. You know what I'm saying?
The most conflict-averse man on the planet.
I would even just, I mean, Snoop ain't always been conflict-averse. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, look, man, once you've been on probation for a long time, it become a lifestyle, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Right. But yeah, like he called, this is like, we talked about this last part. This is the man that on stage handed Snoop the throne. And he even said, yo, my boy.
You're saying Snoop handed Kendrick the crown.
Yeah, Snoop handed Kendrick the throne. And we saw Kendrick crying. That shit, we were emotional watching that. And he still was like, yo, it's one side or the other. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hey, that's standing on something, G. That's standing on something.
Bro, like on Whacked Out Murals, like he's legitimately confused that Lil Wayne didn't reach out to him to congratulate him on bodying his protege. He was like, bro, like, I don't get any daps for murdering your man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he said, it's whatever,
though. So crazy.
And then he said, it's whatever, though. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Cool. You know, we moving on from that.
Because, like, and you know why Kendrick felt that way with Wayne? Because he was like, deep down, Wayne, I know you're a real nigga. You knew that this is bigger than a battle. You know what I'm saying? And I expected to see that real nigga side of you right there. Like, that was his angle there, bro.